The Mandalorian Season 3 finale. Let's talk about it. So today was the release of the Mandalorian Season 3 finale, which we have all been waiting for about 8 weeks now. And personally, I thought the episode was okay. I thought it was alright for what we've had with Season 3 as a whole, like season overall, which I'll get to later. There is a lot of things personally I have wrong with this episode, and I think that they could have done better. But I think that there was something that happened behind the scenes at Lucasfilm and with some of the actors and with Jon Favreau that made this season go the way it was and made this finale go the way it was. Don't get me wrong, I thought the finale, it wasn't like, there wasn't anything that blew me away and it was amazing, but at the same time there wasn't anything bad about it. I thought it was a decent episode, and I thought it was good. I thought it was good, especially for what we've seen so far in Season 3. But overall, I know that a lot of fans haven't enjoyed this episode, and I know a lot of fans have enjoyed this episode. From what I've seen so far, it's only early at the moment. It's about an hour or so after the episode's come out, maybe an hour and a half that I'm recording this video. So there's a lot of people on Twitter that are having their views on it, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more that I'll see later on in the day and tomorrow and so forth. But this is just a video about my personal opinion of this episode, so there will be spoilers in this. I'm going to be going over what I thought was good about it, and I thought what was bad, and that didn't really make sense. So I thought there were some scenes in this that felt like Clone Wars. We saw the battles on Mandalorian, Clone Wars Season 7, and we saw a lot of battles on the planet in the Clone Wars, and I thought it gave us that, that feeling and that esque of like Clone Wars era in this Mando episode. I thought it was really cool. The shots were amazing. The battles in the sky were really cool. Bo-Katan with the darksaber when she was battling through the sky against the Imperial troopers. The clone troopers. I thought it was cool, but I think that there was a lot wrong with the clone of Moff Gideon. I thought there was some bits wrong with that, him cloning himself as a Force sensitive, which we know in Legends is, near to impossible. It's really hard. We saw with the Force Unleashed game with, a Starkiller, we saw that it was hard. They cloned him a million times. They cloned him so many times, and it was hard to get the perfect clone because there were so many things wrong with it. And it was like, Disney have sort of changed this now into the new canon where it's easy to make Force sensitive clones. I don't know, and they all, they got scared easily by Grogu. It's just a bit confusing to me. I think that if they're going to be doing lazy writing again, like they did with this season, with Season 4, I have a feeling that maybe they'll say that one of these Moff Gideon clones survived, and then, we'll have the same thing we've had for the past 3 seasons. We'll have Moff Gideon as the villain again. Which I think it would be cool having a Force sensitive clone being with Moff Gideon, but I think that they maybe should have done that with this season. They had their opportunity to do it in this season and they didn't, and if they do it in Season 4, I just feel like fans won't be too impressed with that, and I definitely won't be too impressed with that. I just feel like that's a bit lazy, them doing that, adding a Force sensitive Moff Gideon again when they could have done it in this episode, or if they did this episode earlier, maybe this was episode 6, then there was so much time that they could have done it. Maybe if they made this a 2-part finale, which I think would have been perfect, then they could have used that Moff Gideon clone and made one of them surviving. But they passed that opportunity, and if they do it again, then I can't imagine the serves from the fans, and the fans aren't going to be best pleased with that, them bringing Moff Gideon back as a clone. But overall, I thought that Moff Gideon in this episode was, pretty cool in his armor and him fighting Din and Bo, at the same time. I thought his death was pretty lame. For the past 3 seasons, we were building up to it, and it was just kind of like a comedic death. He just stood there and got engulfed by the flames. I thought he was going to have a really cool, death, I guess we've been waiting for the past few seasons, and we didn't get it. I thought the battle between Din and Moff Gideon in Season 2 was a lot better than what we saw in Season 3. Their battle was just kind of slow, it was a bit lame, and then the death was just not good for Moff Gideon, especially for a villain that we've had for 3 seasons. You would think that his death would be a lot better than what we saw there with Din. I thought the Praetorian Guards were also very weak in this episode. They're supposed to be highly trained. They're supposed to be trained in combat, what they went through in the Imperial days. They are very highly trained, troopers, uh, and they fought. We've seen them in The Last Jedi. They were pretty strong in that. We saw them in the last episode against Paz Vizsla. They destroyed him, and we didn't see that in this episode. They were pretty slow. They were getting destroyed by Grogu and Din, which I guess is pretty obvious, which I guess can be, covered up, because Din and Grogu are both very strong. Grogu just learning, but Din is obviously a Mandalorian, a very strong Mandalorian, so it's good to see that, Din didn't die like the theories were saying. I thought he was going to get killed by those Praetorian guards, but I think it would have been cool just to see those Praetorian guards a bit more stronger and less weaker than what we saw them as, because, I don't know, I just feel like, it just wasn't, it was a bit lame how they were fighting, and they were very weak. We didn't get any deaths in this episode, which was, I thought Axe Woves was going to die, but he didn't. I thought he was 100% going to die on that capital ship. I thought it was coming, and it didn't happen, and he somehow survived, which I thought he should have died personally, but here we go, he didn't die, so we didn't get any deaths in this episode other than Moff Gideon, which they'll probably make up somehow that he actually survived with one of his clones in season 4. There, all these theories that some people had about there was another spy. It could have been the Armorer, it could have been Axe Woves, it could have been any of the other Mandalorians, and it wasn't. There was no spy at all, which I kind of like. I think it's pretty cool. I think it would have been a bit lame if they did have a spy. There was no tension. I guess that would have built up tension in this episode, but yeah, I enjoyed that there was no spy in this episode. I like it how they had it. So I'm not really bummed out by that too much. It would have been cool if the Armorer was a spy, built up tension for the Mandalorians, that they've been following her for so many years, and she was just a spy for Moff Gideon and the Empire. But, I'm happy that the way it turned out of some of the spy situation and some of the other situations. There's a lot of, like I said, I enjoyed the battles, I enjoyed a lot. I thought we were going to see Thrawn, but we didn't. I think that would have been cool as like a sneak peek to Ahsoka, but we didn't see Thrawn, so I guess we'll have to wait till Ahsoka, which I cannot wait for. The Darksaber was destroyed, which I think now they're either going to make a new Darksaber, or they're going to take the Kyber Crystal from that Darksaber and, just create a new one, because Bo is the leader of Mandalore now, so I'm assuming that they're just going to create a new Darksaber. We saw that ending. I liked how it was a good ending, a happy ending. But we kind of got that with season 2, of Luke and stuff. So I thought it would be a bit different, ending it on a cliffhanger and going into Ahsoka with Thrawn. I thought that would have been a pretty cool ending for it, but we didn't get it, and we got a happy ending. I think season 4 will be back to its best, though. I think Mandalorian will be back to its highest points in season 4, because, now that Din is going back to more bounty hunting instead of being on Mandalore and doing all that stuff with them, it's going to be more like season 1 that we saw Din. So yeah, I think that we'll see two perspectives, probably one of Bo ruling Mandalore in season 4, and the other we'll see of Din, and maybe they'll reunite in the end of season 4. But we'll have to wait and see what they do of that with the storylines now, because they're not just going to abandon the Mandalore storyline when they've only just got it up and running again. So I think we're going to see that again in the future, maybe in the movie that we get. But I think it would most likely be season 4, because it makes the most sense. So yeah, overall, I thought this episode was great. Well, not great. I thought this episode was decent, but compared to the other episodes we got, it probably can be considered great, because the other episodes I can't really speak for because I didn't enjoy them. So I'm saying this episode's great compared to the other ones, because season 3 overall hasn't really been the best season, and the writing has been a bit off, and it's not what we expected it to be. We waited 2 years for it, and it's the worst season, and it's not something us fans expected. But yeah, tell me what you guys think of this episode down in the comments. Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? I think there was a lot to enjoy in this episode, but there was nothing that blew me away completely, that just completely blew me away. I think Grogu being called Din Grogu now just kind of feels off. I just don't know. I don't know. Surely his name should be Grogu Jaren, but I don't know. Yeah, it's just... It feels a lot of the things that happen in this season feel a bit off. A lot of the things that happen in the finale feel a bit off, but that maybe they'll be tied in the future. But I just don't know. I thought something was going to happen between Bo and Din as well, because they were kind of hinting at it throughout season 3, but nothing really happened. I thought the Mythosaur was going to come back, and actually Bo was going to tame it, or maybe Grogu was going to summon it, because when he looked into the water, it went down into the mythosaur, and nothing really happened with it. So it just feels a bit lame, because I thought Grogu was going to do something with the mythosaur, and then, you know, maybe Bo was going to tame it, or Grogu was going to tame it, and yeah, we would have seen something really. I think that would have been epic if Bo tamed it, because, you know, that's the highest thing you can get of being a Mandalorian or ruling Mandalore. It's higher than the Darksaber, or having the Darksaber. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens. I guess something might be involved with Ahsoka, with Mandalore, because of obviously Sabine Wren being a Mandalorian, or her family being a Mandalorian. So maybe they might tie it into that, but I hope they don't. I hope they just leave Ahsoka with its separate thing. I don't want it to turn into another Book of Boba Fett thing, where it's basically Mando season 2.5, or basically season 3. So yeah, like I said, tell me what you guys thought of this episode. If I had to rate it out of 10, I'll probably give it a 6, maybe a 7. But yeah, I thought it was decent. I thought it was an okay finale, but I think there could have been a lot added to it, and I think there could have been a lot of unnecessary things in this episode that could have been taken out, because I just don't think it makes sense for the story. So yeah, like I said, tell me what you guys thought of this episode down below. Rate it out of 10, and I hope you enjoy. And I'll see you in the next video.